beyond Walker. Pugh. That'll do it! That will do it! Pugh for Bournemouth! The roof of the Gold Sands is raised! Everyone here knows what that could mean to this football club. Back to the day!
Hello, Cherries fans, and a warm welcome to tonight's second look here on Back of the Net. Obviously, after the last few days, we thought it was probably appropriate to delay this show a little bit. Many people are still sort of coming to terms with what's happened, and with the news this morning of the passing of another Cherry, by the way, of Sean Fowler. It's a show that on occasions tonight might seem insensitively upbeat, of course, with the contrast of what's been happening on and off the pitch. But whilst on the pitch, that will be where our focus lies tonight. There will be some joyful conversations. We do just need to mention that Nonny's family are raising money to help pay for his funeral. They want him to have the perfect send-off, with remaining monies being split between the 4 charities that were very close to his heart. You've probably seen the link on Twitter, but to make it easier, we've also created a quick AFCB podcast link, which redirects to his page, which is on GoFundMe. And that is afcbpodcast.com/Nonny. There's been an incredible amount of donations already, and you can read more on that link about which charities the money is being split between. But hopefully we can, of course, give him the perfect send-off. It's afcbpodcast.com/Nonny. So, big show tonight. So, I need the big guns in. Firstly, we're coming to Neil Dawson. Neil, how are you? 4-0 over the Swans. You must be delighted.
Over the moon, yeah. I can't believe as well, team being called the Swans, so bad on the wings.
And also, we've got Mr. Tiggs here as well. Tiggsy, how are you doing, fella? You all right?
Yeah, we enjoyed swanning around that pitch, and it feels especially good going into the international beak. No, don't doesn't really work, does it?
No, you've lost your R's there, mate, yeah, which is never a good thing to do. So then, it was a match, Tiggs, where Swansea had won 4 of their last 5, and not many Cherries fans were taking it for granted, especially after our midweek loss.
Well, I think we said, a good kind of over a week ago that we thought that was going to be the point that maybe we wouldn't be able to get over the line, and then the midweek loss came, and it kind of did rattle our confidence a little bit. But at the same time, it's something that we'd be kind of waiting for, because we wanted to see what would happen next.
Yeah, that's it. And we've dealt with setbacks within matches, Neil, in terms of Sheffield United, but we haven't when we've lost a game. And it's fair to say that the boys, after a tentative start, we really did deliver, didn't we?
Yeah, we did in the end, although I think certainly there was a bit of a hangover from Preston for the first sort of 10, 15 minutes were very, very nerve-wracking. And, Russell Martin did the same at Milton Keynes Dons. They like to have a lot of the ball. I think they had 82% possession, didn't they, in the first 10 minutes? And you were sort of sat there thinking, blimey, are we going to, have we got a massive hangover still from Preston? But no, certainly come the end of the game, any thoughts of that gone?
We were all a bit tentative against Preston with a non-left back at left back, Tiggs. And there was still a little bit of that feeling, though, with Leif Davis, who so far has been untried in that position. I remember him when he came on against Birmingham City, started the game on the right-hand flank. We won the game 2-0, but it was just such an obtuse part of the pitch for him to be playing in. But it was good to have a left-footed player at left back. And that wasn't the only change, was it? Because we had Anthony, who came back in for Lowe, and also we had Kilkenny for Pearson as well, didn't we?
Yeah, and, as you say, great to have a left back at left back. naturally kind of slotting in there. And at least let's not forget, this was the guy who we thought we were signing to be our regular left back for the season. So we knew, you got to know he's got to be quality, isn't he? And Zamora's done a great job of keeping him out the side, but of course he got injured. So Davis in, and then Kilkenny. I love that Kilkenny got his place back. We've said before about kind of home away games, different types of matches, right for different types of players. And again, Anthony so deserved to go back into the team. Nothing against the performance from Lowe, but I still maintain, Neil and I talked about this before, that they're different sorts of players. Also, the way that they lined up against us, I thought was quite interesting, because I felt that they almost came to match us in kind of formation and shape. They were very wide at the beginning of the game, and they tried to match, or they tried to build up the aggression in the game, and we came to meet it. And that's where, for me, the game started to change. What do you think?
Well, the game changed because Scott Parker made quite a crucial change as well, I think, in that he dropped Lerma deeper because they were having way too much of the ball. So we started off with Lerma and Billing playing ahead of Kilkenny, and he switched it to bring Lerma back alongside Kilkenny and leave Billing. And that wrestled the game back for us. That and whatever instruction was given to Leif Davis by Gary O'Neill, who wandered all the way around the pitch to talk to him. And that certainly worked, because, Leif Davis, I thought, the last 75 minutes, he was like Ashley Cole. First 15 minutes, he was like Cheryl Cole.
Do I don't see many coaches ever do that, like walk around to give the instruction. They got to just yell, don't they, and hope that
but they couldn't get to it because he was over the other side of the pitch. So they came around, and whatever he said to him, I think he said, get further out, get close, get out to the wing and get closer to the action. And it kicked on from there. So it was whatever was said, and Lerma dropping back wrestled the game back.
We seem to sort of gift them with a lot of possession for that first 20 minutes. And I don't know how many passes they had in that first, 20 minutes of the game, but it was quite a lot. Now, overall, they had more passes. And I swear most of that actually came in like inside the first 20 minutes. And I felt that we were really struggling. But whilst they had a lot of the ball, they didn't really create much ticks, did they? Like, it was almost possession for possession's sake.
Yeah, I mean, I had to sort of think to themselves, they're going to come at us quite patiently, so that didn't overly surprise me, to be honest. But yeah, we're not easy to break down, even at our worst, to be fair to us. We've got a good defensive record. It's always going to be there now, I think, for the rest of this season. I don't think we need to worry about that. And we made things difficult for them. We'd certainly got more aggressive, and that made it harder for them as well. But yeah, they didn't really threaten a lot. And when I think about Travs, he had that one save, didn't he, quite early on, that was crucial. But apart from that, he didn't have a great deal to do.
No, he really didn't. And there is a really interesting chalkboard, actually, that shows you in terms of the shots that they had. And I'll bring it up on screen very shortly. But all of their shots were outside the box. And, we were shooting inside the box, outside the box. So, we weren't sort of gifting them much. It's almost like we were maybe happy for them to have the ball at like a little bit nil, as we have been for most games this season.
Yeah, well, I think we've cottoned on to the fact now that teams have worked out that they need to really go at us in the first 20 minutes. So we saw Preston do it, and arguably successfully. We saw Reading do it very intensely at the Majeski Stadium the week before, and we saw Swansea do it. So it's quite clearly a pattern that they think that we're going to knock it around the back slowly, get in their throats, you can upset them. And I think from our point of view, we're quite happy to let teams do that if they don't concede, because we saw with both Reading and Swansea, they were shattered after 20 minutes. And, you've still got another 70 minutes to go. And certainly, neither Swansea or Reading could keep anywhere near the intensity that they put up for the first. So I think you'll be all right with that. You'd handle losing the first 20 minutes of any game if you won it.
Yeah, absolutely. They were quite competent with the ball under pressure, I thought, and they were moving it around really quickly. And we were trying to sort of press them, but they were good enough at that part of the game. And I think after 15 minutes, the possession stats was 82%. In Swansea's favour. But like you just mentioned earlier on, we started to get some joy after 20 minutes, and Kilkenny shot wide. Billing won a flick on, and it landed at Anthony's feet, and he tried to play it first time beyond the defender and into the space that Solanke was driving into, but an interception stopped it from reaching Dom. And there were these little moments and these little chances that were just giving us more and more, confidence, in the stands, but also on the pitch. And, Leif Davis, Tiggs, was actually pretty integral to our first goal when we opened him up, wasn't he?
Yeah, no, he was. Yeah, very good. I think it started with Anthony. Actually, it was a pass. Oh no, it wasn't. No, was it? No, I think that was the game where the game had just got a bit niggly, hadn't it? And the ref hadn't actually kind of been able to maintain any control of it. And then it broke out, didn't it?
So the ball was on the right-hand side of the pitch, and Stacey was on the byline. He played this lovely ball across the pitch that fed Leif Davis. And what I started to like to see was that as soon as he made the pass, and it was to Anthony, I think, he bombed forward, which was really good. And then it was a quick pass to Phil Bill, who timed his run just right. The opposition manager is saying that he thought it was marginally offside. I don't know what angle he was using to see that, because none of the angles that I can see even, give it a chance of working it out. So it can only be what he saw at the time. And then what I really liked to see was Phil Bill, just a slight look up, and then he knew Dom Solanke was there. Left-footed shot. Left-footed cross, and then Dom Solanke, really composed finish. Superb goal, Neil.
Yeah, no, tremendous. So, Leif Davis had just played a fantastic ball down the line just before that for Anthony. And I think when you make your debut, you've got to do one good thing, haven't you? And he'd shaky start, like we said. Then that one brilliant ball where the crowd all roared approval of it. And then that gave him the confidence, I think, for the second ball. But it was a well-worked goal all the ways around. And lovely to see Solanke properly finishing it as well, because that's been slight criticism at times this year with some of the more straightforward chances, but he absolutely smashed it home. Great start. And then Swansea's game's got to change then a little bit, so they've got to get higher up the pitch and get at us, and then that allows us space behind them. So it all worked brilliantly from there.
For me, their game didn't change overly tactically, though. What they did get, Tiggs, was just a little bit niggly. Yeah, and start to make the most of everything and trying to get the referee on side.
Yeah, it sort of started before the goal, but then after the goal, there was an incident by the touchline, I think, wasn't there? Which got a little bit out of control. It was really interesting, actually, the way that the ref dealt with it, or rather didn't. He just took a complete back seat, just back way away from it. That was where Parker came onto the pitch, wasn't it? Yeah, I think, to get involved. And it was an odd approach to it, but nevertheless, I guess it worked. Is that something you would do, Neil?
He reminded me when you see like a little landlord trying to break up a rugby team kicking off at a pub. He just sort of arrived in a jacket out of leave it. He just arrived in a jacket out of nowhere, didn't he? And I think what he was trying to do was protect the players, is what he said. He said afterwards. You just can't beat it. You can't beat a 22-man brawl for getting the rest of the game was so entertaining after that, because you knew that there were going to be people that have vendettas, that might have had their toasted on or a little dig in the ribs when they were in that melee, and they were all looking for the person to sort it out. I've never ever seen a game go dull after a scrap.
What I like about it is actually the position on the pitch where it happened, because it was almost identical to where Jefferson Lerma's was when we played Watford in that 1-0 win last season. And what's good about it being near to the touchline is everyone gets involved, where it's on the other, if it's on the other side of the pitch, no one can probably be asked to get involved, but you've got people on the bench, like adding to the uproar, and Parker running on. And I think what it was Christie went in on Downs, I think it was, and maybe it was a foul, I don't know, but the referee blew and Christie just turned, but Downs had a problem. And then I think Billing was behind him, and he could see that he had a problem with him. And whilst he was approaching Christie, looking to square up for him, Christie didn't even know what was going on. He kind of flailed his arm, it hit Phil Bill, and then he was trying to hold him back, like bear hugging him, and it all kicked off. Parker came on, loved that. And you know what? It just gets the crowd going, Neil, doesn't it? It just gets us going. It's superb.
100%. And also I like what Scott Parker said afterwards, because a lot of managers would say, I can't condone that. And It's disappointing when we see it, and we've spoken about it after the game. But he was pretty clear in the fact that he thinks these things are good team building exercises. So, which was the way he played. He was a combative player, wasn't he? And I think he's right. Teams pull together on the back of things like that because they look to see which of their teammates help them out. I mean, Lerma was smack bang straight into the middle of it, wasn't it? And Gary Cahill as well arrived for quite some distance too. And I can remember a Bournemouth game many, many years ago where Tony Pulis sprinted 70 yards quicker than I've ever seen him in his life to get involved in one of those. And I think they'll have had a good chat about it this week. I think it's a positive, negative thing, isn't it?
I think so. Whilst Eddie Howe used to do, pedalos on the River Stour, we just have a pure fight going on. That's the only way to do it.
Brilliant.
Yeah, Fight Club. That's it. Absolutely super.
What happens in training stays in training.
Yeah, and you know what? I saw some tactical shapes where I was in a different position this time. It's very difficult to see from the north stand, but I was sat slap bang in the middle of the main stand with like one of the best views I've probably had at Dean Court, really. And you could see that whenever we were out of possession tigs, that it was an obvious fight. So like Jefferson Lerma was basically being the third central defender there, but what that then did allow was for our wing backs to then push up like forward and try to prevent them from attacking. And you've got to say that it was a tactic that worked really well because from that moment forward they barely posed any threats, did they? I mean, this is what you're seeing in the second half, right? But in the first half we were doing exactly the same, and Swansea didn't really get near our goal once we deployed that tactic, did they?
No, and we started to find more space behind them as a result of it as well somehow, which kind of surprised me, especially down the left. Anthony and Davis were having a great time getting down there. Yeah, it worked really, really well. And do you know what? That's the kind of thing that, for me, kind of proves a lot of the. Well, it proves myself, actually disproves myself, because I was really worried about Parker as a manager coming in and Parker ball, etc., etc. But to see how he changes things in a game, you don't always see that, do you, from managers, even at this level? So, I think it's a clever little move. And all right, we're a goal up, so maybe he's gonna be thinking maybe hold it a little bit, but it worked, and we went on to score more goals.
And he's still a relatively inexperienced manager, so he's done 2 years. And they always say there was a famous quote, wasn't there? I can't remember who said it. A manager who'd been sacked a lot said, "You got to be sacked before you become a good manager." So he will have reflected. I think Newcastle will see a different Eddie as well, because he'll have thought of that relegation season and he'll have replayed in his head and think, "Well, I'm going to do this again." I think Scott Parker similarly. Probably took the feedback from Parker Ball being a little bit tentative and is learned, like all good managers do. They learn, don't they?
Yeah. Should have probably made it too, actually, where I think Kilkenny had the ball very deep and set Jayden free on the left-hand side. It was a ball over the top, and I was willing him to shoot with his left foot, but he didn't. Yeah. He cut back onto his right, but he was outpaced by the defender. And there were a couple of times in the first half where I thought, I'm sure Jayden's faster than that. But, they were... it was very good defending at the time, and it was a chance where I just willed him to shoot first time, but he didn't. He cut back, and by which time the defender managed to intercept, and then moments later space was opening up in front of like Philip Billing, and then he just sort of miscontrolled the ball, and it was one of these perfect attacks that was looking good. But it was fair to say that the old Bournemouth were coming back, the Bournemouth that were absent on Wednesday, and it wasn't only the fans that were enjoying it. It was the class of 70 and 71 Tigs that were all there celebrating as well. Superb to see some happy faces there.
Yeah, that's lovely. That is lovely. Could you hear them behind you, Sam, as you were watching the game?
You know what? I was just to the right of that, but I spoke to Ted McDougall before the game. As you can see, there's Keith Williams there as well. There was a whole crowd of players, and obviously they were at the club on Friday night as well for the evening, hosted by Jimmy Glass, where everyone was nearly everyone had a chat on the mic, including Kevin Bond as well, representing his dad at the time. And some really good stories from him. So we all
remember you, Sam. Remember us as the best interview he's ever done in his life, or?
He didn't say that, but he did say hello, and we had a chat with him and Willow. Like we were basically there until we were chucked out. So I think it was like relatively quite late, but it was just really nice to chat about all things AFC Bournemouth. He was chatting about the channel as well. He was chatting about watching Back of the Net. I think he may have even mentioned your name, Neil. So it's quite nice to get name checked by a goal scoring hero. Of course, he scored 49 in that season. We had a quiz during that evening as well, by the way. One of the questions was, a lot of the questions were really difficult. It was Neil Vacher that you set the questions, and being the kind of statistical. But I think he tried to set the bar low, but it was still like way too high for everyone else. But I got one question right, which was the system, like the footballing system that they used back in those days. That was the Coverdale system. So I got that. But when it came to average attendances and stuff like that, then I'd no chance. I think it was about 15,000 for one of the games or something. I can't remember. But but anyway, they had smiles on our faces, and so did we. And, the football was really, really good. And then there was this moment, Tiggs, on 36 minutes that was quite interesting, because I haven't properly there've been a few little kind of incidents within the game that I still can't work out whether they're penalties and whether they're not, and this is probably the first of them, where Leif Davis played a ball over the top. Phil Billing managed to collect it. He shielded it with his back to goal, and he cleverly touched it one way and then the other, and managed to pirouette and get a cross in that just went over the head of Dom Solanke. But Dom Solanke and their defender Manning ended up on the floor, which meant he couldn't get back to his feet, and he was almost pinned down. What did you make of that? You probably had a better view than I did.
Difficult to say, really. I mean, I would call it I don't know if that's a penalty. I wouldn't give it as a penalty. Was that when then Lerma tried to shoot back in? Was that one? Or was that later?
Right.
Yeah.
I think he was pinned to the ground like WWF.
Yeah, it was
like WWF. He was pinned to the ground, wasn't he? It's one of those I always think anywhere else and the pitch.
Yeah, very true.
So therefore, technically it's a penalty. But the bigger penalty we've not mentioned was Leif Davis in the very early on.
Good point.
Yeah. I mean, if that had been a Bournemouth player, I'd have been fuming, because quite clearly from where I was sat, he clipped him. But
was he running fast enough for it to be a pet? Because, I know that these challenges look more dramatic when they're at pace. And I think the way he got round him, he sort of managed to get to the byline, but he wasn't exactly running at speed. But I suppose it's just any touch, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I mean, it could have been a piece of cloth from his shorts, maybe brushing his leg or something. But to me, I thought it's one that you've seen, awarded, but I wasn't too sure myself.
There were I think there could have been 3 or 4 penalties in the game, and there were none. So if anything for the ref, he was consistent.
And what about the one where there was a ball through that looked like it was going to Jayden Anthony, but I think their defender Bennett managed to get the ball back to his keeper, but he almost rugby tackled him, Tiggs. Do you remember that? I mean, not that Anthony was going to get it anyway, but he did completely take him out. And it's, I just thought, like, at times the referee was very frugal with his cards, and that was probably one of the moments.
Well, yeah, I agree. He was frugal with his cards, considering all the incidents in the game. But I think Neil's right. I think he was consistent. I also felt he was consistently not quite up with play as well. But that was just my view, maybe. So it's difficult to give those decisions if you haven't got a good sight of them, and it didn't feel like he did, to be honest.
I think 90% of the time when you have a scrap in a game, a referee's allowed it to get to that situation. In my memory of watching lots of football, it doesn't arrive out of nowhere. It arrives because a number of kicks and shoves and things have gone unnoticed or unpunished, and then people get more and more riled. It's very rare you see a well-controlled game that suddenly erupts into a scrap, unless there's a career-ending tackle, which there wasn't.
I think Sam Summers, if you follow him on Twitter, he slowed one of the moments down where a lot of people were crying out that a lot of the opposition were crying out about Leif Davis having fouled him, and it seems like he has maybe disproved the myth. So if you go to Sam Summers' tweet, apparently one of his replays maybe debunk the myths, to use that phrase twice in a week. Okay. But anyway, half time it was. We'll talk about the second half shortly. Should we see who's here, Tiggs? Should we see who's watching?
Yeah, let's say hello.
This is live. People always ask, is it live? Yeah, it is. Hence, I got booted out earlier and then had to come back. is Cameron here. Hello, Cameron. Hope you're right. We've got Alan, Creative Inspirations here as well. Mark Singleton, Will, Morgan Scott can't wait for the show. We've got Scott here at 2.
Someone better tell him it started.
Yeah, that's right. Duncan here is as well. Spokesy, Heather, Ethan Burney is here as well. Paul Spicer, I hope your leg is doing okay, mate. And you're on the mend. God, I gather you're out of hospital now. But we got Kevin Gregory here as well. We've got Mr. Testosterone here, perhaps a Watford fan. He's asking about Josh King. Mark Cole, Robert from Sydney, Liam Humby's here as well, David Ailey as well. Yeah, great to see people donating to Nonny's page. Literally, the page was started this morning, and now it's approaching £6,000 already, which is unbelievable. Russell as well. Layla's here too. We got Paul and loads of other messages that will be flashing throughout the show. We'll be putting them on screen. Right, so onto the second half. And as second halves go, Neil, started quite well.
Yes, it did, didn't it? It was, and what a goal! There's nothing better than a huge barnstorming run across and a dynamic finish, whether it be a Jan Kermorgant header or whatever it is. But I mean, Leif Davis, that was the cross of justice. That was. I mean, he really pinged that out of nowhere, because I was sitting there thinking he's running out of space, and he just whacked it across. And I mean, that was a absolutely majestic finish by Solanke. He hung in the air and volleyed it. So, I've been critical of his finishing in years gone by. So I've got to be the first to say that's one of the greatest finishes of a cross I've seen at Bournemouth.
Wow, that is some accolade. And what I really like about that was that Swansea had the ball and they played it forward, and Leif Davis read the pass and he managed to cut it out, and then the ball fell to Anthony. He just lobbed it over the top, knowing that, judging by how he played the second half of the first half, he's probably going to be bombing on. And Leif Davis, whether he can see, I'm not too sure, but he barely even looks, and he just puts it into that place, which, you've got to say, surely that is proof that Dom is turning into that instinctive right place, right time striker that his teammates just know that he's going to be there, and he was, and the finish was superb.
Yeah, and there were lots of examples of that actually throughout the game, where a little bit later on, when we start getting a little bit greedy. No, that's not fair. But, there were a number of opportunities, like for Christie, for example, where actually if he'd squared it, Dom was in space. And that carried on through the game, actually, from around about that point. So, yeah, I agree. He's definitely getting more instinctive, and he's just turning up in the right places at the right time, which is what you need him to do.
I tell you what, that's one of those spot the ball images that no one would ever win. What's it doing there? Yeah. Sorry, Neil.
Apart from some granny in Cumbernauld who just randomly places crosses, I think Scott Parker sort of got some sort of agreement with him as well. If you haven't scored a hat-trick by 75 minutes, you're coming off, because Dom Solanke never goes off, apart from the 2 games this year where he scored twice, and then he gets taken off. So I think it's almost like he said, "Look, you want a hat-trick, mate? You got to get one in 75 minutes, or you're coming off." So because he didn't look very happy to come off. Although by the time he got to the bench, he did all the hugs. But I bet he was thinking, "Christ, am I ever going to get a hat trick?"
I mean, once again, we've waxed lyrical about him so many times this season already. But Tiggs, it's not just his goals, is it? It's just his general hold-up play. There were so many times the ball was just launched forward. I would launch, not like Gillingham, but obviously tactically played down a channel, and he'd run onto it. He would shield it. He would retain possession, or even if it was played to his feet are really good. He's getting stronger. He's really turning into the all-round player for us, isn't he?
Yeah, I think the club put a tweet out today actually about him, and how much involvement he's had in goals in the last kind of year, since the beginning of last season. It's quite a large number of assists as well as goals. So yeah, he does everything, doesn't he, for us? Which is why he's so important. Which is why 75 minutes he was yanked off. I wonder if he gets a goal bonus if he gets a hat trick now.
But that might be it. That might be written into his £20 million deal when he arrived. It's so quick, get him off quick on the radio. Get him off.
Yeah. So I was just smirking at Dom getting yanked off. I'm not sure that they can keep up.
He only used to get an orange at Liverpool.
Yeah. Okay, so next one then, 58 minutes. Christie getting hauled down. We were up in the tempo and the pressure, and it was that Manning defender again. I think Anthony won the ball outside of the area, and he sort of drove into the middle. He cut back and he fired at goal, and it then deflected in the path of Christie, who it was like he was pinned down again or brought down as he swung his foot at it. I've seen replays, but I'm still not really sure about it. Have you seen it, Neil?
Oh God, I was hoping you were going to ask me. I was hoping you were going to ask Tiggs. I don't remember that at all. I might have gone for a week.
Tiggs, have you seen
Tiggs,
it?
you remember that one?
I vaguely do. Yeah, I do. I do remember it.
Am I the only one that watches games around here?
We were there. Well, I watched it, but I just didn't see that bit. Yeah, I mean, I think it just goes part and parcel with the type of game that this was, to be honest with you. No one was getting anything. And, the Swans fans were just as disappointed with the referee's decisions as we were, to be fair. And they were saying so afterwards. So, yeah. But on the other hand, Christie is such a nuisance, isn't he, to other teams? Yeah. I mean, he is really, coming.
When is he going to bloody score, though?
I know.
So, and you know what? This was one of his major chances that ended up in our third goal when it was the Parker press again, and he capitalised on Grimes's really poor back pass, and he rounded Bidwell. He drove into the box and he opened up his body, and you could see what he was wanting to do, but the keeper just flailed out a leg, I think. And then that made it just skip up into the air, Neil, and Jayden Anthony was there.
Did we score a third goal? No, I'm joking. So, Chris Kamara moment. The one thing you would say about him and Christie is they do need to start piling in with goals. And that was a proper striker's finish. So if you play wide, there's a danger you don't get in the box enough for those sort of like rebounds. Only Solanke will get rebounds. So it's really lovely to see him popping up there, and he finished it, as with a really powerful sort of neck muscle header as well, which he needed to get it across the line, with the keeper being able to save it. And the keeper got a hand to it, I think, didn't he? But it just was too powerful. So really good to see. I'm more happy he scored a goal like that than I would if he'd bent one in from 20 yards, because it shows that he'll get more goals.
Yeah, he knew where to be, didn't he, Neil?
Yeah.
And he was obviously very happy with that as well. And you know what? Tiggs, his family were happy with it, weren't they?
Yeah, they were sat behind me in the south stand, and they were going absolutely bananas. Absolutely bananas. They were smashing on the back of the Ted shed. Whole thing was shaking. But, they were great. Was it,
who was it? His mum and dad or brothers?
No, I don't think so. I think maybe, I didn't ask that. I didn't ask if they were, actually. I knew they were his family. I think maybe it might have been his mum. Don't go quote me on that. But I think maybe I saw on another one of our videos,
brilliant,
that they were his cousins, maybe. I think some of them. So, but they were loving it. And, they're Cherries through and through now, they were telling us after the game. So, really, really good. Really, really good. And there's been a few of those moments this season. These young players have had their family come, and to be able to see those things is absolutely brilliant. I want to meet Kilkenny's family now. I want them to come over and come over from Ireland and watch a game, hopefully, if they're not already.
Yeah. Kerry saying that you did a fantastic job with the post-match interviews. You really did put me to shame, mate. I thought Jaden's family was so happy. I loved seeing that. And so did I. So Jordan Zamura's family, Jayden Anthony's. Who next? Who is it going to be?
It's worthwhile remembering as well that, because we look at players and they get a lot of criticism, don't they? And it's worthwhile remembering they are, we talk a lot about mental health. They are human beings. And it was brought home to me when I once sat in front of Jason Pearce's mum and dad. I think it was away at Aldershot, bizarrely, and they were so nervous the whole game. And every time he was in a bit of danger by the corner flag, they were like, "Get it out, get it out, get it out." And you realise that everyone's got a mum and dad that, just like we watch our kids play football, where everyone's got a mum and dad that just is hoping they don't make a mistake. And it's lovely to see that.
Absolutely brilliant. So he was delighted with that as well, getting on the score sheet again. Loved seeing that smile. And Bournemouth were 3-0 up, and it felt like we were home and dry, but you got the feeling, Tiggs, that there were going to be more goals, because we were absolutely peppering them. And you look at the scoreline at the end, we'll talk about the fourth goal, obviously, but with the chances that we had, it almost flatters them, you could say.
Yeah, I mean, I watched the highlights again, and easily four chances that we could have scored that we didn't. Really good ones, and then like two or three others kind of half chances. I don't really know, what happened to their game plan. I guess they just they burnt themselves out a little bit, Swansea, because they just couldn't contain us then. And they were fortunate. Yeah, definitely.
We noticeably press higher in the second half of games than we do in the first half. I don't know whether it's by design. I'm guessing it is by design, not accident. And I think Milton Keynes were done exactly the same way. Russell Martin's Milton Keynes side were done exactly the same way by being caught right on the edge of the box on a couple of occasions. I mean, Christie had that one shot as well that just missed the post by an inch. You can see it on an alternate angle very clearly.
Yeah.
And I thought that was his moment. But no, I think, Sam, they ran out of steam. And also that game plan isn't great when you're 3-0 down. When you're 3-0 down and everyone's a bit not looking for the ball, you really want to just get it forward.
Yeah, we're seeing some really good moments all over the pitch, not just from our attacking players. I thought Kelly was really strong at the back. Man of the match worthy? Not so sure. You can see why the sponsors might have picked him, but I thought that there were players that possibly shaded it more. But on the right hand side, Stacey was really good. Put Christie in, who was marginally offside with that shot that went wide, and then Stacey again put in Christie. It was an interception where it was a sort of it fell to Stacey and it was just ball over the top, and Christie sort of seemed to be in so much room, and he took it down on his head, and then it was almost like between his it didn't fall naturally for him, so he had to scissor kick it.
Yeah,
and it was just wide of the post, and Solanke was to his left though, like wanting that hat trick now, wasn't he?
Head in his hands, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was the one I was just talking about just now, and there was a Billing one as well where he shot right foot where he really had to cross for Solanke. He really had to cross it, and he shot right across goal, and Solanke was stood there. So no, it was a total bombardment of them towards the end. Great to watch.
Yeah, it was, and like you say, Stacey was getting more and more forward, which was really good. And then Anthony, I can say on Christie's part, yes, you could have put in Solanke, but it's not like he was short of confidence after scoring that second goal. So why not go yourself? And at some point, he will score a goal for AFC Bournemouth. Praying it's in the next match. There was a really good move. We've started with a throw-in on the left-hand side, and a lot of people recently on some forums on Twitter have been criticising how bad we are from throw-ins and set pieces and stuff. But I thought really good quick throw to Solanke, who just made this lovely little touch, which put in Anthony in a curled effort. Then went just ahead of Lowe. It wasn't a shot, but he played this exquisite ball. I was right behind it, and so close to putting in Lowe. He had a shot from distance himself. Lowe did as well, palmed away. And, like you said, Neil, Billing flashed it wide after being set free by Lowe. Then there was that moment where Billing and Solanke combined. And that was probably Solanke's chance for the hat-trick. That was where Dom fed Phil Bill. And he's got this lovely gliding technique where he just pirouetted and he just backheeled it to Solanke. I think he tried to use the defender as a screen, but it ultimately hit the defender's legs and it was saved by the keeper. And I think the follow-up, Solanke's foot might have just brushed the goalkeeper, but the goalkeeper made the most of it and tried to get Solanke booked again, I think. But didn't. But when's he going to score that third goal, Tiggs? When's it going to be, eh?
Yeah, I don't know.
Pull him away.
Pull him away. That'd be great, wouldn't it? It was, that goalkeeper was quite interesting, actually, that reaction, because I know players kind of put it on, but, Dom he was trying to get a goal. He wanted to get that third goal. He sort of carried on walking, so he was into the net, and the goalkeeper was incensed. But the look on Dom's face was like, what did I do? What did I do? Really so shocked that because I don't think he's the type to. No,
he's not in a million years. Not in a million years. There's a lot of strikers over the years that we think that they would have done that, but not. He doesn't think like that.
No.
Robbie's got it right.
Yeah. Absolutely essential. And then how nice to see Lewis Cook coming on, Neil? I mean, a long time coming and good to see him back. And you know what? Could have actually scored himself,
Yeah, wrong foot.
Oh no.
Fell to his wrong foot. So if that had been on the other side, I think he would have belted that across goal. It just happened to fall to him. Was he carrying a bit of extra timber? We thought he looked a bit different. We wondered if he'd been at the biscuit tin a bit in his time off. He looked fuller, didn't he, to me? But I mean, if he gets, I mean, what a luxury of riches we've got in that side now, because he's a very, very similar player to Kilkenny. So they will rival each other off. I know he came on in a further forward position because I think he didn't want to disrupt the defensive midfield. But, you know, it's what a great... Because I think there's not... prime Lewis Cook and prime Gavin Kilkenny, there's not an awful lot to choose between them.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you, Neil. And, it'd be really interesting what we do going forward. We've got to give Cook minutes still.
Yeah.
We have to. We've got to get him back to fitness. Otherwise, but then you've got Pearson as well, which is I know he's a different type of player, but it's making it really difficult in that middle. A little stat, actually, that I was trying to find it because I remember Jacob Tanswell posted it in the week. And the game against Preston, we made 24 tackles in the whole game. The game against Swansea, in just the first half, 21 tackles we attempted. So there's a very different type of performance. And I think it was after those sort of 15 minutes, that we changed it.
Yeah, and those were the tackles that are attempted. It's almost like you read my mind there, as if by magic as well. I mean, and just check out the passing stats as well. I mean, they passed so much more, than us, and I don't know how many of them were in the first part of the game, but it just absolutely shows you that having possession like we used to under certain other managers, doesn't necessarily, and having passes, it doesn't necessarily mean you'll win the game. And they were chasing the game come the end of it. They really were. And I thought we absolutely dominated. They seemed completely spent. Another stat is that AFC Bournemouth won 85.7% of the aerial duels as well, which goes to show. I don't know how many of them were just long balls, humped balls forward or what, but we seem to be coping there as well, Tiggs, which is good. Yeah,
without Steve Fletcher on the pitch as well. I mean, it's quite an odd stat for us. I've never really thought of us as a team that wins a lot of headers. We were kind of a second ball team a lot of the time, weren't we? So that is an odd stat, but great. It's another element to our game. I'm sure that's got something to do with Gary Cahill. I'm sure it must have.
We're slowly changing as a team, aren't we, though? Because we were always a team that conceded, and now we rarely look like conceding. We're a lot tougher, physically tougher. And look at our midfield options in terms of physical strength. And even Philip Billing won a header, which we thought, blimey, it must be a day for winning headers if Phil Bill wins a header.
So those are the aerial duels as well. Just to confirm what I was saying, I tell you what's quite interesting on the passes front there. This is from WhoScored.com, right? And it's very interesting to see in the target zone bit at the bottom right. Our stats are on the left hand side here, and then Swansea's are on the right. But you can see that we were so much better in the final third with our passing as well, and we were meeting our targets a lot better. So it just goes to show how dominant we were in that match. If you want to check out WhoScored.com, some really good information there on trying to detangle the stat side. And another one was that our XG was the highest that it's been this season, Tiggs.
Yeah. I mean, what was it, Sam? Do you know?
No.
Okay. I'm guessing it was probably more. It was probably more than 3 anyway. And that doesn't surprise us. We saw the game. I was just sitting here thinking, who gets all those stats? Where do all those stats come from? Is that because all players have got little microchips in their boots or something, or is that just is someone sat there going?
Someone sat there doing it, mate.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
There's a company that do it, and they press a button, don't they, every time something happens, but. Dull job.
Let's see about Anthony, who got on the score sheet again. Oh my God. And Morgan Rogers, I've got to say, right, superb. Like when he came on, I thought he did really well, because there was this kind of moment of possession that we had where we gifted it back to him. Swansea had the ball, and then he just nicked it off him twice. And one of the last interceptions he did put Jamal Lowe on the ball, which then squared it to Anthony. Really unselfish. I mean, he was the angle probably wasn't there for a shot. But then it fell to Anthony, left foot, second goal of the game. Superb, Neil.
Yep. And it better. So I was down in the fire exit because I was getting ready to leg it to avoid the rush. So I had to sort of like run back into the stadium to see it. So I didn't see it from my normal view high up. But when I watched it back on television, it was a better finish than it looked from low down. Actually, he took time and he slotted it right into the bottom corner. A man of confidence, doubled his goal tally for the season. Great for his family. They got to speak to Tiggs as well, so their day only got better.
Yeah. Of course it did. I mean, that's one thing that I did think seemed to be lacking from his game. And look, that we won't have games like that all the time. And I'm sure that Scott will be running the rule over his performance like he does with everyone and telling him where he can see some improvements. But to get a couple of goals, I thought was absolutely superb. And he was shooting at the right time, and he was having efforts from distance. There was one that he had where the keeper palmed away that I said earlier, and I'm glad he was taking on those shots. Yeah. It's really, really good to see. And there's nothing better, Tiggs, than going into an international break with a win, is there? Because had we got any other result, that would not have been good, and it would have probably just left us stewing for a couple of weeks, really.
Yeah, it's a really great feeling. And going back to what, Parker as well, I noticed in the sort of last 10 minutes of the game, or 10, 15 minutes of games, he swaps a lot of the players around. He uses that time, if we're winning, to try out different things. Try Anthony on the right, try a different player up front instead of Solanke. It's really interesting, trying different systems, because if we ever did have an injury there, touch wood, we don't, we'll need something completely different probably. But yeah, going into the international break, fantastic. We, well deserved as well, because our season, we've had one little blip, one little loss, but we too deserve, I think, to end up on a high and rather on a low. Yeah, and I'm really excited because we've got a thick and fast when we come back now, going up to Christmas.
What was really important, I think, from a psychological point of view, is that Fulham have won 7 out of 7, and they've only gained 3 points on us, and that's quite soul destroying. Because if you go on a run where you win 7 games in a row, you normally will eclipse anyone that's around you. But we've won 6 of the 7, haven't we? So, they've done. That's probably. I mean, will they sustain that? It'd be hard to. So they've had their purple patch and gained 3 points on us. And with West Brom drawing as well. Thank you, Neil Warnock. Sadly lost to the game. That's that turned into a really good weekend after the Tuesday when they both won and we lost.
Yeah. Do you get the feeling that we are a different level this season? It seems like us and Fulham. I mean, that's what the table does suggest. But you're looking at other teams. West Brom, I thought we coped with them. Unlucky, perhaps, not to get a result in that. But 2-2, I think, on the opening day was fair. But you got Stoke City. We won at their place. Queen's Park Rangers. There, there are other sides there that, Swansea City were in the, top half of the table. They're a decent run of results. And we absolutely smashed them. Neil, do you get the feeling that we are just different class this season?
Both teams are a different class. What it will break down on is injuries. That's where championship seasons always break down, because they're long, hard seasons. And the only thing that will stop Fulham and Bournemouth is arguably an injury to the centre forwards. Yeah, because Fulham have precious little other people that score, and in reality, we're not a million miles away from them. We've got Philip Billing, I guess. The wide players, one of them started to score, but we're so heavily reliant on our centre forwards, not just for goals, but the way they play, that I think both sides' priority in January has got to sign another centre forward. Otherwise, if everything stays as it is, I think over the remaining games, we'll gain enough points. Both teams will gain enough points to stay clear of West Brom, who will drop too many points. But it all depends on their injuries to the centre forwards.
I think you're spot on there. I think as well, a lot of people thought that Jamal Lowe might be a player to play centre forward. I don't think, we've spoken about it before, he can't do what Dom does. You don't really want him to be doing that. It changes his game. It's not the sort of player he is. I mean, he might attempt it, but I don't think. But how do you get another Dom Solanke? That's the thing. Or would you go for something like a little bit more of an old-fashioned kind of someone who's just going to hold up the ball kind of striker, do you think?
Well, I think you've got to go. So I don't know what they're looking at in Europe, but I think they've got to look at someone that's doing a similar thing at a Premier League reserve level, at Chelsea and Arsenal. That's normally a better insurance policy. So a future star who's 18 or 19 that's in Arsenal's team that maybe have had a couple of Carling Cup games. That's probably your best insurance policy, because you're right. Anyone else will say, well, if I'm coming in for 10 million, I want to play.
Yeah.
But I think we need a bustling, tall, mobile striker backup, as do Fulham.
Yeah, agreed. Well, it's just been us three tonight. Jeff and Tom were not available, and I did try to secure the loan signing of Kirk Tovey to come on tonight's show. But get this, lads, and he'll kill me for saying this. He's watching JLS at the Bic. he chose not to do this for Jack the Lad Swing. What on earth, Kirk Tovey? No, I hope you had a good time. I'm sure you enjoyed singing all those songs, whatever they are. Tiggs, do you know any JLS songs?
I'm just trying to. No, I don't. Is there? No.
Beat again. Yeah. We should have started off some punting at this show with some JLS punch.
I think you've got the wrong audience for anyone in the comments know any JLS songs.
No. NWA I can do. I can't do JLS.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with regards to Jay-Z. We saw him in the main stand with a boot around his leg there. I don't know how bad the extent of what his injury is, but at least we know that we've got a left back that can play left back now. And, I thought that he grew really well into that. And will we see Robbie Brady at some point? Not too sure. Well, all will be revealed, but it was just a kind of complete performance. And it was something that really did help to put to bed the demons of Wednesday night. And now, we've got that, 2-week break. Hopefully we can get players sort of playing it, because it felt as though for the last couple of games, Neil, don't know about you, but players have been almost hobbling off the pitch and have just looked absolutely spent. So this 2-week break for me, I think it has just come at the perfect time. Yeah,
well, Reading was like the Somme, wasn't it? At the end, it was an absolute, sort of cataclysmic end to that game. Everyone was limping, so it made sort of Squid Games looked like the generation game, didn't it? At the end of it. So, and I think there was a few people took those knocks into Preston and probably were told, give it one more go against Swansea, and then that's it. I would imagine you have the international breaks where you do a lot of work. You have an international breaks where you do precious little. I think this will be a precious little one. It will be go and spend some time with your families, maybe fly out to somewhere hot, play golf. You've done really well. Come back, and then we'll put it in for the few days before Derby.
Yeah, absolutely. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure to have your company tonight. Tiggs, any closing thoughts, or are you just about done?
No pressure.
Just about finished. No, I think. Do you know what, Neil? You said something the other day, and I think that's really interesting as well. Is that if we could get to 50 points, that would secure safety. But 50 points, wouldn't that be great if we get to 50 points by Christmas?
That would be absolutely fantastic, yeah. And then test the theory by losing every other game just to see.
Yeah, just to see if it's enough. Yeah,
see if it was enough. No, it would be. Yeah, there are some milestones to go at, and the frightening thing as well is, had we had a left back against Preston, I'm pretty sure we would have beaten them. No disrespect to Mepham, and we know those of us that went to Peterborough and Hull and games like that this side could have won every game this season, with maybe the exception of West Brom, which was pretty even. I mean, we should have gone 3-0 up against Blackpool. So, although we get nervous because that's what football fans do, if you were looking at us as a neutral, you'd say, what on earth have you got to worry about? So.
Thank you to everyone who's commented throughout the show. Sorry we haven't been able to get them all on screen. If you want to support the channel, you can do so with a super chat, and that is done on YouTube, whereby it guarantees your message will appear on screen. But Tiggs, thank you very much for coming on today.
Thank you, mate.
And Neil Dawson, thank you very much.
Red Army,
up the cherries, and we'll see you in the next video.